Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So the repair I've got to do today is not a repair that I've done before, so I'm sort of going to be learning as I go along. So this is an axle off the front of a tractor, well, half of an axle. Obviously the diff goes in there, and then your kingpins and your hub and that goes on that end. And this is a centre pivot, and as you can see, a lot of it's disappeared. So these are the pivots that are bolt onto the tractor that they pivot in. So they've sent me these so I can get some measurements off them for when I sort this out. But you can see when I sit this on there, just how much has gone missing. Now to see all that, how much that's worn away is quite surprising, because farmers are usually good at greasing the machinery. So yeah, anyway, that's what we're going to sort out. So I think it's cast iron rather than cast steel, but we're going to do a few little tests on it just to make sure that is what it is. But my experience with cast iron is a bit limited. First, what I'm going to do is, you can see that bit there is worn through, so I'm going to chisel that bit off, break that bit off, and then I can look at the crystals in the metal to see, if it's cast, you'll be able to see in the crystals that it's cast. Then I've already had a little go with a file there to see what the filings look like, and then we'll have a go with the grinder as well, grind a bit off and see what the sparks look like. You can see, it'll focus, you can see how crystallised that is. So we'll have a go with the grinder now and see what the sparks look like. So with a look at them sparks, I'm pretty sure that it's cast iron, but we'll file a bit off and see what the filings look like as well. And it says the filings are real powdery, so yeah, pretty certain that's cast iron. So I've just been and got some welding rods. So these are super cast ultima. I'm going to have a go with them. So what I'll do is I'll clean all this up. You can see it's all scarred, so I'll clean all that up. And then I'll clean it off in the middle, and I'll run a bit of weld on the middle first. Make sure it doesn't go hard, because it'll need machining afterwards. And if that's alright, then we'll preheat it and then weld it up. Now I haven't done any stick welding for years, because I never need to do any. I don't do much on site jobs, and when I do, I take a MIG welder that's running inner field wire, so I don't need. Yeah, I never really need to use a stick welder, so I don't know how smooth it's going to go. Right, so I'm giving that a clean up now, so I might give it a bit more clean up around there. Oh, so I don't think I've told you what my plan is with this yet. So I'm going to build it all up with weld, and then I'm going to put it in a milling machine, turn the whole diameter down, smaller than original, and then put a steel sleeve over the top of it. I think I'll put a bit of preheat into it now, and then have a little go at welding it on the top there and see what happens. So I've robbed this little gas burner out of a gas barbecue. I'm going to put that in there. That'll act as a nice gentle preheat on the inside, and post heat as well once I finish welding it. And then we'll give it all a gentle warm up all the way around. I've got my little barbecue burner just cooking away gently in there, so I'll get my other torch going, and we'll just warm up gently around there. So I've just done a little test run in the middle there, and then I've just filed it away with a little chainsaw file, and it files nice and soft, so we should be all right. So I've got this area sort of preheated up to 150. Depends where you point it. Yeah, I might have to try and equal it out a bit more, but we're getting there. Right, so I've finally got that built back up again. Didn't go too bad. I burnt a hole through to start with. It was real thin where it had worn down. So yeah, I've ground it down because I've been measuring it as I go along, and then to make sure I've got enough weld. I've set my bloody arm on fire on there. Well, yeah, it's not pretty, but it's built back up again. So we'll leave that going on a real low heat for a while, let it cool down as slow as possible. I was using my little Tech Arc MIG. Well, it's not a MIG, it's a MIG. Well, it is a MIG. It's a MIG, it's a TIG, and it's a stick welder. So I was using that. I think we were on about 90 amps. Right, so it's the following morning now. It's cooled down. There's no cracks anywhere, so that's good. So it doesn't look very nice, but I'm going to be machining it down so it's like that size all the way around. So then I've the steel collar that put over the top has a good bit of thickness to it. So yeah, that's done. That bit's done anyway. So if you saw the video last week where I made the riser block from a milling machine, well, this is the job that I made it for. And I either stand the whole axle up on the mill and turn the head of the mill 90 degrees, but I don't think there's going to be enough distance between this and there for me to be able to do that. I think it's going to be too close to like the deck of the mill. So I think what I'm going to have to do is sit it on the mill like it is now, and then put my big riser block in, and then I can mill around it with a boring head and machine that down. Yeah, I think I'll put my mill back together with the big riser block in. Well, I think I might need both riser blocks in and have enough height to do it. Right, so that is both riser blocks in. It looks massive with them in. So I've got 675mm between there now. I wouldn't want to do any real heavy work with both of them blocks in, because it is only 6 M10 bolts that actually holds the riser block onto the base. So yeah, I wouldn't want to do any heavy drilling or milling or anything, but for what I need it for this job, it should be fine. Right, so I've got the axle mounted onto the mill now. So I cut out a washer to go into where the pinion goes, and I've got a bolt through there, and I've got my angle plate on, that's bolted down, and then 2 bolts into that. So that seems pretty rigid. You can see now I've still got a nice gap in between there for my tool to go. I think what I should do now before I do any machining is just put a dial gauge on there and then lift this up and down and make sure that the head is square to the table before I start doing any machining. Right, so I've checked that runs parallel with the dial gauge, and it seems to do. So I've got the truck in now with the edge finder, so I can use this ring around the outside here with the edge finder, so I can find the centre of here off of that. So I'll do that now. Right, so I think we should be good to have a go. I've got my boring head set in with my tool. A bit limited on what high speed steel I have, so I'll just ground that bit. I think that'll be alright. So I've touched it on the high spot around there, and then I've given it like 1/2 mil depth of cut, so we'll just do a real shallow first cut and see what happens. Right, so I'm getting that cut down, but I keep having to resharpen my high-speed steel. I'm not a big fan of high-speed steel. I'm not very good at sharpening it either, to be fair. So, and I think it's a little bit harder where it changes over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new one of these bars, but so I can fit these little tools in that I use for line boring. So then I can have a tool with a proper little insert that goes in. So I'm making a new one of these. I think it's 22 mil with a 12 mil hole and a grub screw in it. Right, so I've just quickly made this up. So now I can put that in there and put one of them tools in. So we've got all that set up. Let's see how we get on with that. Yeah, that's machining a lot better now with that. So I've just swapped insert over from one of them. They're not really meant for these type of jobs there. I think they're meant for aluminium. So I've just put one of them in. They're good for line boring because of like the rake angle that they have on them. So the first few cuts I was just winding up by hand and then using the DRO to know when to stop, but now I'm using the auto feed on here. And I'm not quite sure whether it has an automatic stop on there or not. I haven't quite worked out how it all works, but I'm just sort of going down nearly to the bottom and then just winding it on the handle for the last bit. To be 120mm overall diameter, but I think I'm going to take it down to like 110 or maybe 108 and then put a sleeve over the top. I don't want to take too much off and make it weak, that's the only thing. Right, so I've got that taken down to 110mm now. I don't really want to take any more off because it's hollow as that. When you look on the inside, you can see it's hollow, look. You see there where it melted through when I was welding it up. So if I take any more off there, it's going to make it weak. It's going to make it too weak. Because I was hoping that I could put like a 10mm thick sleeve over the top of it. But if I take it down so I can put a 10mm sleeve over it, I'm going to be taking too much off. So I think that'll have to do for size. But yeah, when I was hoping to put a 10mm collar over it, then I could have drilled it and tapped it and put 4 grub screws to hold the collar on. But now, because I can only put a 5mm collar over the top, there's not really going to be enough metal on the outside in the collar to be able to drill it and tap it, because it'll make it too thin where the threads are. I'll worry about that bit in a minute. I'll machine this bit down so it's all smooth on the top again. Right, so we're going to use this as a boring head now to skim it that way, if I can remember how to use it. So you put that in there, you hold on to that, and all these little buttons are like alters how fast it feeds. I can't remember whether this needs to be in there or in there, but anyway, we'll find out. And then skim the top of that off. Right, so I think I've got that all machined down now. I've faced the top off. It is a bit hard there. You can just feel that, so I might have to just smooth that off a little bit with the grinder because it's sort of a little bit proud there. But generally, where I've welded it up, it's alright. Enough to support a collar anyway. I have this bit of heavy wall tube that I can make a collar out of, so we'll put that in a lathe and machine that up. Right, so that's that collar machined. I've done it 0.25 undersized on the ID, so when I heat it up, hopefully it'll shrink on. I've done the ID 0.5 undersized as well, because when it shrinks down onto the other bit with the 0.3, the 0.25, the difference on the inside, in theory the outside will be, you know, won't shrink as much as what it is now. It'll be expanded slightly, if you know what I mean. So, you know, I'll part that off now. Right, so that is that ready now. Just need to warm it up. So I've just given that a smooth off with the grinder where the weld and the cast meet. It was quite hard, so I've just smoothed that off. The rest of it, not too bad. So it is on. I can put the boring head back in again and put a bit of a chamfer on it. Right, so I've got it sat on there, so we'll give it a warm up then, see what happens. that is on there. Just wait for it to cool down now. So it's not quite cool yet, still too hot to touch. So while that cools down a bit more, I'll put the boring head back in and then I can machine a chamfer onto there. It'd be nice if I could have machined that up a bit, but it's going to take too much doing, I think. I'll maybe grind a bit out of that with a grinder just to smooth it around a bit better. Right, so I've given that a chamfer. I have just had to give it a little polish up with emery tape because I should have had another 0.05 of a millimetre off for when it shrunk down. It was just a little bit, tiny bit too big. It was a bit tight when I put the end cap on. So I'm not going to put any grub screws in because that is a 0.25 interference fit, which that'll be on there tighter than what these bushes are in these caps. So yeah, I don't think there's any need. So that's on there now, it's a nice fit as that. Compared to what it was, especially. I think that can come off the milling machine now. Right, so that's all finished now. It's a shame I couldn't have done a bit about that, just to neaten it up, but I think if I'd have tried to build that up with weld and then machine that down, I'd have ended up with a lot of hard spots. So it shouldn't affect it anyway, there's only a shim that goes around there into that cap. So that's the important bit. So yeah, I think I'm reasonably happy with that repair. It was sort of getting towards the edge of my comfort zone with it being cast. But yeah, the axle's not scrap anymore like it was. I think that's about all for this video. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd be very grateful. But yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.